When you look at the next 2 years, what do you think some of the key milestones will be?
GPT-5, its features, the release day, and what do we know about it? I went over different blog posts and different interviews with the ex-workers of the OpenAI, and also I did tons of analysis on my own to think what are the best educated guess on what we can expect from ChatGPT 5. We will go over Sam Altman interview with Bill Gates and other interview that other CEOs did, and the podcast that will talk about the possibility and what to expect from GPT-5. There would be a little bit of a speculation, but we try to make it the best educated guess that what to expect, what we think that is not going to happen, and how we can best make ourselves ready to see what's going to happen ahead of us with the greatest ChatGPT. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Pedram Agad. I'm a PhD student in computer science. I have over 8 years of experience in AI and machine learning, different projects, and over 10 years of experience in teaching. And this channel is AI Fun Fact for All, which we try to make AIs simplify and somehow make it understandable for everyday use. By the end of this video, I'll be going to talk about one of the most important features of ChatGPT 5 that is very likely going to happen. So make sure to stick by the end of this video, which I will talk about this incredible feature, which is going to change everything in our lives. But before we go over the expectation of what we can see from ChatGPT 5, let's first simplify some of the acronyms that we hear a lot, like AI, LLMs, NLP, and AGI. AI stands for artificial intelligence. This means any knowledge or thing that can be done through a machine, something that was done only before through cognitive ability of the human, but right now we can actually see them artificially through some machine learning code or combination of them. So when we say LLMs, or basically large language models, what do we mean by that? So AI is very broad. It can depend on different tasks. For example, we can do artificial intelligence in vision, which can recognize, for example, your faces, which all of us are seeing this in our everyday use with our, for example, smartphone. And it can be over text, which is basically the NLP, or natural language processing. So the understanding of how humans actually talk in a specific language. For example, in this case, it is English, but it can be definitely in other languages as well. NLP is a sequential learning process, which means that we are given a sequence of tokens, which is basically the different words, and we are trying to predict what would be the most probable token after that. As an example, I'm going to say I am a student and I am going to, and then a space in here. So based on the data set, we can kind of expect that since in the first sentence we talk about I'm a student, so we can expect that I'm going to probably something like a school, university, rather than something like, for example, a club or something, right? So this is basically the process of NLP, and how this process is done can be done through large language models. So large language models are very massive and huge neural network that use a special architecture called transformers, which was released by Google in 2017. Those actually provide this incredible architecture for us that enable understanding very complex tasks, very beyond just understanding the, for example, purely the dictionaries, or for example, how words put aside each other, like the grammars or the word trees. So we try to reason for us, we try to understand the topic. So that's basically the LLMs. And we have AGI AI, which is a term recently proposed, artificial general intelligence, which basically means that it is not a narrow AI. So narrow AI means artificial intelligence or a system that you have which is specified only in one task and don't know anything about other tasks. And AGI is basically a unit which is capable of applying multiple tasks in the level of human or even better. So this is something it can be considered as the goal of AI. And as of right now, lots of big companies like Google, Microsoft, and lots of other companies are trying to achieve to this state of the AI. This is a little bit far-fetched, so it's not happened right now, but they are going towards it. And it can combine, for example, the knowledge that we have in NLP with robotics that can do tasks. And then, for example, generating videos, for example, something that we see in Sora, a combination of all of this in a unified way. What we can expect the ChatGPT 5 to be is not an AGI. So it is very, very unlikely, around zero, that ChatGPT 5 is going to be AGI, which means that can capable of doing multiple different tasks at the same time. The reasoning for that is because Microsoft had put $10 billion into OpenAI in 2023, early of 2023, in order to do a partnership with OpenAI to actually progress this world of ChatGPT. What Sam Altman said after that was, we need around 100 billions in order to reach an state of AGI. That number by itself is a very huge number, even for a company like Microsoft. So this is very unlikely that Microsoft would be able to provide that amount of money in this a time horizon that we can expect something like in a year or two. So that's why we consider that to be very unlikely. And the reason why we think that is because these models are very expensive to train, and they also take a lot of time to complete the training. If they have the latest model of the GPUs, which are the accelerator of doing this training computation for the transformers that we earlier mentioned, that are required for these LLMs models in order to learn from the data, they can use the H100. So H100, how many units of that are required based on the amount of data, we expect something around 100,000. So 100,000 units of H100, each of the units of these GPUs cost around 50K. So this is basically a large investment, and the training of them roughly takes around 2 to 3 months, and usually this training has some hiccups, so it's not always very like a smooth path. There might be some error in them, and then they have to start training again, and it's usually done in different checkpoints, so they don't do the full training in the very beginning. They try to train for a smaller amount to see the result in the first checkpoint, and then generate to the next checkpoints. So in terms of the release day, OpenAI try to keep this secret to themselves, and also they themselves not necessarily know when this is going to happen, because there are so many levels of uncertainty involved. But the most educated guess that we can have is basically something in late 2024. The reasoning for that is because the application for the red team closes in September 2023, which basically the red team is the team that try to be involved directly in training of these networks. So this, as mentioned, like these kind of networks goes through different round of training, each of them like around 2 or 3 months, and the fourth run actually started in late January. So what we can expect is that end of the March, it is already finished. And they usually go to terms around 6 to 8 months of testing, which involve preventing the abuse, reducing the risk of it, and considering some of the appliances to their terms and condition. So this is going to take around 6 to 8 months, which gives us something around November. And November is actually the release day and anniversary of the first version of GPT-3 that was released to the public. The first change that is very likely to happen is about the context lens. So what is actually the context lens? When you're working with ChatGPT or any other LLMs, there is a maximum allowable tokens that the LLM will remember when trying to answer your question. This is actually called the context lens. For GPT-4 Turbo, this number is 128K, while for Gemini Pro, it's 1 million tokens. This is roughly around 1 hour of the video. So what we really can expect from ChatGPT 5 is to see the improvement in terms of the context. The second advancement that is very likely that we can expect to see in GPT-5 is increased reasoning capability. What does that mean? It's basically GPT-5 is expected to have very more factual information with the more reliable reasoning. There are some consideration and some problems that currently all of the LLMs have. For example, the hallucination, which try to provide information that they never exist, or provide references for the factual information that they are trying to provide, and also the lack of response in hard mathematical question. All of these issues are expected to evolve a lot, as we can see in this video from the OpenAI, which they mentioned that for each run they try to ask a simple question 10,000 times from the ChatGPT, and they try to pick the one with the highest probability. So this one, which actually increase the precision of the responses. It also have one problem which kind of will limit the creativity of the responses, but it will provide with more concise and to the point response.
Maybe the most important areas of progress will be around reasoning ability. Right now, GPT-4 can reason in only extremely limited ways, and also reliability. You know, if you ask GPT-4 most questions 10,000 times, one of those 10,000 is probably pretty good, but it doesn't always know which one. And you'd like to get the best response of 10,000 each time. So that'll be that increase in reliability will be important.
Based on this video, we see that Sam Altman clearly mentioned that this is the issue with their current GPT, and they are working a lot to actually come to a solution to increase its reasonability. The other changes that is very likely to happen based on the factual information is multimodality, which basically means how we can communicate with ChatGPT and how it can respond back to us. Right now, it is only through the text and somewhat, for example, by uploading a document, and it can respond us with the in-house DALL-E, for example, with some images, but this is going to be improved a lot.
Multimodality will definitely be important.
Which means speech in, speech out?
Speech in, speech out, images, eventually video. Clearly, people really want that. We launched images and audio, and it had a much stronger response than we expected. We'll be able to push that much further.
In addition to this video, we also have another information for data partnership that OpenAI published a while ago, which they try to look for some data in order to train their model. Let's take a look at this. And they mentioned that they are looking for some data that express human interaction, long-term writing conversation rather than disconnected snippet, and they want it in different formats, which can be video, audios, or a snippet. The fourth advancement that can be expected is multilingual proficiency. So right now, it is ChatGPT can speak other languages to an extent, but it is not very well developed, and it can be easily jailbreak, which is basically means doing or asking some type of questions that will let the LLMs or ChatGPT in this case to do something that they are not supposed to do. So given this concern, they're really trying to improve the other languages development rather than just English. So let's not just watch the video and forget about it. Let's try to be engaged with this and come with the rally of the AI to see what are the different advancements, what we are going to expect to happen, and what are the different possibilities. To do this, very simple. You can just subscribe to the channel to get some weekly information of this simplified knowledge that comes to you, so you can also keep up no matter your background is, what you are doing. You really need to understand this AI because it's going to affect your life. In addition, there is a newsletter in my blog post that you can also join to get more information and more rapidly of what are the recent advancements, a simplified version of very complex tasks. That is the goal of my channel. The fifth advancement that is very likely to happen is enhancement in the memory. If you guys have noticed, there is a memory that is recently introduced in GPT-4, which is responsible to capture the information of the users within a chat, which means that when you are talking to ChatGPT inside the chat, it will try to remember some of the key features, and on the next prompt, when you are asking the same question, it tries to incorporate those knowledge also into the responded, so it is not very off from what was the core of that chat. If we also have touched on how we can have sort of like a style or instruction that can be consistent among different chats that we have, that help us not to write it every time again and again in our prompts. For that, make sure to stick by the end of this video, as I'm going to put a link to that video so you can watch. In addition to this, there is also the sixth expectation that we can observe, which is very prominent, is about the personalization, which means that every people is using ChatGPT very differently. So it is not always the same among different users. Someone using it for business, someone using it for their daily use, someone using it just for example, getting ideas. So the variety of the tasks are very much different. And right now, ChatGPT doesn't provide that very systematic way. What they mention inside the video that I will play is that they try to also somehow come up with a way that can personalize this task. This can be done through connection to lots of your daily use app, such as, for example, Gmail, your calendar, for example, your other daily use app, and then try to somehow make the process of what you do every day in an automatic manner. Let's watch the video.
Customizability and personalization will also be very important. People want very different things out of GPT-4, different styles, different sets of assumptions. We'll make all that possible. And then also the ability to have it use your own data. So the ability to know about you, your email, your calendar, how you like appointments booked, connected to other outside data sources, all of that. Those will be some of the most important areas of improvement.
As we saw, these changes actually provide a tailored response for each user based on their preferences, and it also provides the recommendation to the users of what they can expect, what they cannot, and how they can automate their daily tasks. So it is going to become very handy for our everyday use. In item number 7, we have the ethical changes. So we saw that we we have a lot of concern in terms of the bias and in terms of the privacy issue that is rise because of the copyright and everything for the whole OpenAI and other large language models. The reason for this bias is because all of these models are trained on massive amount of data, and data are available on the internet. And if the data that we have on the internet are biased, then the response that we can get from the ChatGPT is also biased towards that. So it is really important that we should consider this bias and reliability in our decision makings. So they are aware of this problem. So they try to come up with some approaches that can somehow address this bias to alleviate it and somehow come up with some issues in terms of the privacy and some of the problems that people mention about. For example, they might not like that the ChatGPT will use their conversation in order to retrain, because as of right now, any interaction that you have, anything that you write inside your ChatGPT will be logged, and then later on it will be used to train the model again. In number 8, we can expect something like emotional intelligence or EI. As of right now, we haven't seen anything like, for example, the emotional states or how the ChatGPT responses in terms of the how the user is interacting with. For example, if the user is angry or by the use of the words that they are doing, in order to be connected in a human level, they are trying to provide something in terms of emotional intelligence, which try to capture the intention or the internal states of the users that is talking to them, and try to provide the response in a way that is kind of related to their current state, decreasing in their limitation. First one is the message cap, which is basically when you're talking to GPT-4, there is basically a limit on how much message you can trade within a frame, for example 3 hours. There's also another limitation in terms of the latency in the inference time. For example, how long you should wait until you expect to get a result from the ChatGPT. All of these are an issue in terms of the infrastructure. So as they are trying to accelerate their training processes and using massive resources and GPUs, so it is expected that they are going in this direction. Last but not least, I need to mention that nobody, even Sam Altman, knows that what is going to be the capability of this new model that is under train. So they said that they really need to wait until see what is going to happen. They kind of promised Sam Altman himself that by the end of 2024 they're gonna release a new version that is going to be very good, but he didn't say that what are they going to call it. So they need to see that what is its capability, so that whether they are going to call it 4.1 or 4.2 or they are going to call it GPT-5. In addition, there is a quote from Sam Altman in Financial Times that he once mentioned, before we do the testing, during the training of these large language models, what they can expect from the capability of this model is like a fun guessing game for them. So they can't exactly know what they can expect until they test these models and go through different rounds of evaluation. So it is really important to know that lots of this are speculation, and we don't exactly know. Nobody knows that what will be the actual capability of this large language model. Also, if you are looking for some way to effectively talk to ChatGPT, how to ask your question to get the best responses, make sure to watch this video that I created before, that I go over exactly what is required for you to include inside your prompt to get the best response that you want. And also make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification to get notified when I created new videos. Also, take your time to like the video. Apparently it is very useful for the YouTube algorithm, so we can create this together and make it available to more people to be aware of what is this AI and how it is going to be used in our daily life and what is the best way that we can get the most out of it. See you until the next one.